what in the world would inspire you to jump out of an airplane?
It's never perfectly good. There's always something wrong. But, you have to get at it.
And how long have you been in the Army?
11 years.
11 years. All right. And what is your current job?
The Deputy Public Affairs Officer for the 82nd Airborne Division.
Deputy Public Affairs Officer. So you're recording a little bit of what's taking place here?
Yes, so I'll be taking photos. I'm the guy that's either behind an iPhone or a professional camera, taking photos of all y'all tonight, but also capturing the main stories that you guys have to share with us this evening. And I'm a paratrooper because there's paratroopers like that man right there. They came before me. So, Vince, thank you for everything you've done for us, and thank you for leading the way. Even though I'm an 82nd guy, right?
Yeah. You have some hardware here on your jacket. Is there any one of these that probably means more to you than any other?
I would say the Wings, sir, and the CIB. Yep.
The CIB, the Combat Infantry Band. Why?
I was in Afghanistan in 2012 on the CIB, but that was one snippet. As you said, your experiences make up, for some, maybe a small fraction of your time in life serving in the military, but it makes up maybe 75% of who you are. For paratroopers, and Vince can attest to this, Russ can attest to this, it's like 95% of who you are, right? Because everyone, once a paratrooper, always a paratrooper. But the CIB and the Wings are probably the two proudest badges that one can earn in their time in service. And with that, today actually marks the first anniversary of us losing 13 service members in Afghanistan. So let's take a moment of silence would be much appreciated if we could.
Let's do that. That is it today.
Yes, sir. Yep, today.
1 year ago.
13. We lost one Army soldier, Ryan Knaus, who actually served in the 82nd Airborne Division before going to civil affairs, and then we lost 12 Marines and 1 Navy sailor. So you have a glass that's charged. One was taking a moment of silence, and please consider your glasses, those that we lost 1 year ago today at age 5.
One last thing. This gentleman is also a young master. We just had the distinct privilege of parachuting into Normandy for the 78th anniversary of D-Day. He will be out of aircraft today.
All right, let's do a moment of silence. And let's raise a glass. Thank you, Darren. Hey, Warren. Hi, Mike. How are you? Did you stand up? Mike, you had a birthday recently?
Yes, 99 years old.
Hurrah!
And that's a picture. You haven't changed that much. Your hair. How do you keep so much hair? You have more hair than your son has.
It's hanging in there.
It's hanging in there, absolutely. So, Mike, that's a picture of you and your brother. You met overseas?
Yes, I met him Tony Place during the war. Once in France, and as a matter of fact, after we got into Germany, I had a problem, and I had to get flown back to the General Hospital in Reims, France, and it happened that Tony was only about 15 miles away from that hospital, so they gave us a chance to get it once again.
I'm reminded a little bit of your story when I was listening to Vince Ferranza's story. Vince, we'll hear from Vince in a little bit. Vince grew up in a large Italian family. His mother was a great cook. He says when he joined the Army, he started eating really, really bad food, and he wanted to get home and have his mom's spaghetti. Did you have the same experience?
Let's say beef on the seaboard. They had a different word for it.
Oh, good. Okay, so you like the Army food.
I didn't have any problem.
Okay, all right. You told me a story about being in basic training and you had maybe a weekend off. You were only allowed to go so far from your training camp and you snuck away to come home to Pittsburgh.
Yes, indeed. My mother was in pretty bad shape, and I was out on a 3-day pass, and I thought I'm going to extend that to get home and see her once more. So I extended that to Pittsburgh from Campus Corps, Wisconsin. And it's a long way out of the jurisdiction. But it worked out, and I got to, and I went through all this. I had 10 hours with my mother again before I had to return back to camp. But it worked out. And during that period of time, I think the railroad had everything that was on 4 wheels on the railroad. And I was on this car that the MPs were coming through to check their papers. And he got to the person in front of me, and the fellow didn't have his papers with him. He said they were in the car ahead. So he said, go with him. So this fellow just left, but he didn't come back. So the MPs took off after him. And when they left to go after him, they gave me my chance. I made it to the men's room, and I ended up locking that door. And I was in that men's room all the way back home to Pittsburgh. And I was hanging out of that window to get fresh air. And I was getting cinders in my eyes from the engine, but it was all worthwhile.
It was all worthwhile for 10 hours back home.
That's exactly right. It's well worth it.
Thank you so much, Mike. I'm so happy that Isla Cole, location up here. Oh my gosh, Isla. What a beautiful picture. The years have not changed you a bit. Isla, I think many people might be surprised to know that the Navy really didn't want women to serve in World War II. The Navy was not, they were a hard branch of service to convince to allow women to have a meaningful role. The Navy had a few hundred Navy nurses, but that was about it. And it was really because of one Congresswoman, Edith Norris Rogers. She was from Massachusetts. She inherited the seat from her husband who died in the 1920s. She ended up serving in Congress for decades. Because she was on the Armed Forces Committee, she was able to get a top secret manpower report for the Navy. This is before Pearl Harbor. And she read it cover to cover, and it said that if the Navy has to fight a two-front war, they're going to be short 100,000 men. They could not figure out how they were going to meet that manpower need. So after Pearl Harbor, I mean truly, December 8, 1941, she called Admiral Kester Nimitz and said, I read your secret report. I know you're short manpower. I know how to solve this problem. Admit women. And he said, oh, God, gee, you know. It was really hard to convince the Navy to accept women, so they agreed to accept them on a contingent basis, and they were called WAVs, Women Accepted for Volunteer Emergency Service. And the idea was women were accepting women just because of the emergency that we're having. And when the emergency's over, you're out. And when a lot of young women like Isla decided they wanted to join, there were a lot of men who weren't really happy with it. What did your dad have to say?
Well, my dad was really not too excited about it, but my mother had to find for me, and my dad was really upset.
You came from a smaller town, or Des Moines area, Iowa?
Well, no, up in the northeast of Iowa. It was, a town of less than 2,000. I
So you came from a small town in Iowa. It must have been very exciting to go out and, you know, see a bit of the world.
It was different. Yeah, very, very few of them did. I was working for vegetables and garden medicine, and I was thinking about joining. One day I said to myself, I'm just going to do it. I went down and back into the recruit and said, signed up.
Did you like the Navy?
Very much.
What'd you like about it?
Oh,
The boys?
oh yeah.
She liked the sailors, is what she said.
They really appreciated what he was always excellent in the planning activities for us.
And you ended up working kind of, I guess you would call it a stewardess. You ended up working flights from San Francisco to Hawaii.
Montecito, California,
Okay.
about 40 miles south of San Francisco. And we would take a flight, and if everything was okay, we turn around in rotation and take our flight. But if there was a problem with mechanics or whatever, we got out of rotation and had to spend a day or two or three on the beach.
That's tough.
Well, it really was.
So you had good duty.
I had excellent duty, and I would like to recommend it to any of the young ladies, but it wouldn't be the same,
No. Yeah.
so I hesitate. But I can't think of a single thing that I would do different.
Oh, great. Thank you so much, Isla. Howard Pfeiffer. Howard was in the Merchant Marine. He's wearing your Merchant Marine hat. Is that original from World War II?
Yes. Yes, it is.
It is.
Yeah.
Could you tell people a little bit who might not be familiar with the Merchant Marine does, what they do, and what you did?
Okay, the Merchant Marines sail the ships that deliver the goods to our allies and our own people, of course, wherever they are, and that's what we were doing in Russia. We were making a trip delivering all kinds of equipment, and tanks, and you name it. And of course, we were told when we got there, we went here, you're happy to have you here, but don't get involved with our people. But that's easier said than done, right? So they gave us so many rules as a present, and they told us again, don't do anything beyond that, but said it's easier said than done. So I ran out of money real quick, so I had cigarettes and soap, so it was real easy to walk down the road and say, see, didn't say soap, cigarettes, .com, yeah. So with that, my transaction, the Russian comes up to me, and he's making a deal with him. I'm selling him cigarettes, and somebody put their hand on my shoulder. It was a soldier. Russian said, Comrade, well, Felicia. Oh, I know. I said, yit. That's the only word I knew. He said, no, Jeff, you got to come with me. So we get down and take you down to what the police station was. And he explained that I was selling, and they said you're gonna retain me. I said, what the hell is retain me? So with that, they guided me down towards what ended up being cells. When we got there, I thought, whoa, what the hell is this? They're gonna lock me up. No way. So we went and opened the door. I grabbed them and I said, I'm getting the hell out of here. And I ran. Turned out and they're all run around. I'm thinking if you shoot, I hope you're a bad shot. I did make it out of there, and I was able to get back to the ship. And my friend said to me, Howard, you were supposed to get some stuff. What did you get? I said, Huey, I got arrested. He said, oh, bullshit, you made that up. I said, you wasn't with me. So that was my, if you go to Russia, don't sell anything. You do what you do.
Okay, so if you go to Russia, don't trade on the black market. is what you said.
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's not a good idea to get in trouble.
And I just want to emphasize to people that the Merchant Marine, one of the major things that the Merchant Marine accomplished was to take all the production that the U.S. had created for the war effort, for the Allies, and ship it around the world. There's no way, for example, the Soviet Union could have fought the war without the $18 billion worth of food and equipment. Studebaker trucks up there, 150,000 Studebaker trucks went to Russia during World War II. And people like Howard took them on ships and went and delivered them above the Arctic Circle at Murmansk. Look at the deck of the ship. This is what it was like. Howard, was it really that cold?
Oh, in Russia, or hell that cold. Yeah. Those here are all the time warm temperature.
0 was a warm temperature. Yeah, I mean, it's stunning to look at these pictures. It's stunning to see how much cargo was transported to the Allies. I mean, when I would teach World War II, I would argue that World War II was really won here on the American home front in the factories, in the shops that were producing the ordnance and the ammunition and the equipment that was needed to win the war. Trucks.
Trucks, all kinds of trucks and equipment. Anything that they could get a hold of, they were smart enough to request it. And we were delivering it to them without a doubt. And so that was an ongoing thing. And it was well known for that. And so it was quite an experience that we were doing those kind of things in that part of the country. I wouldn't suggest you go there under those conditions.
Howard, you truly saw the world. I mean, you served in the Pacific, you were big in Australia, you were big in Iraq.
Yep, I was at Omaha Beach for the invasion.
And he was at Omaha Beach for the invasion. That's right.
And we took a ship there that was built for World War I. It was a piece of junk. My friend Cleveland said to me, who was older than me, knew something like it, is that the ship, we got the assignment, yeah, that's it. He said, that's a piece of junk, it will get out of the harbor. So he was right. We got there, we took the ship to the invasion, and when they got the opportunity, we ran it right into the beach, turned it sideways, dropped off 4 anchors, and that's when we got off and got to go ashore. And that's how I got to obviously get it. And he said, why do you always have to be investigating?
So you scuttled this old World War I ship to be a ball bearing harbor.
That is right. We ran into the beach, got it turned sideways, dropped off 4 anchors. They literally scuttled it. You automatically got your shot at the top. And that's exactly what it was happened.
And that was on VA or
oh yeah, that was within a day or two, right?
And you were curious about what was going on the beach?
Well, I had to be. I always am. So I said to my friend from Cleveland, you were here, we want to do a look around. So, he said to me, Howard, what the hell do you always have to be looking around? I said, I can't be here and not tell people all this stuff. So that's what we did. And of course, that's how we got into town. And that's how I got arrested. I wouldn't suggest that. Smart thing to do.
Okay, Howard, one thing that I remember you came to an early breakfast of ours, and I have to say I didn't know anything about the Merchant Marine until Howard told me about it. He cornered me for 90 minutes and gave me a great history lesson. And you also sang the Merchant Marine hymn.
Yeah. What? Heave-ho.
Yeah, you
Heave-ho, my lads, heave-ho. Let the seas roll high or low. We can cross any ocean, sail any river. Give us the goods and we'll deliver. Damn the submarine. We're the men of the Merchant Marine.
All right. Thanks for coming, Bob.
My pleasure.
That's you? You are a handsome man.
Not me.
You were 19 years old,
Right.
and you were a B-17 sailor.
That's right.
How many missions did you fly?
22.5.
How do you fly half a mission?
You don't make it back.
And you would think, okay, if you don't make it back, that means that you were captured. But you weren't.
No, we weren't captured.
You weren't captured.
We landed in a neutral country.
And you flew this plane, bitty Beachy, correct?
That's right.
That's it. And you got shot up and ran out of gas.
Well, make a bomber mission in Poland. On an aircraft engine factory. The Germans were making jet engines. We didn't know that jet engine.
And so why did you not make it back?
Well, we got hit with some flag. We started losing gas. We had two long bay tanks. One was filled with bomb, the other was filled with 500 gallon of gas. Well, we started losing gas. Wasn't going to make it back to England. And the pilot asked to track it to the Sweden. So we had to leave the group. Then a couple German fighters started chasing us. Then the bombardier said, hey, there's some clouds below us. We went down the clouds, stayed there for about half an hour. The navigator says, better get below the line back where the hell we are. And we went down below and we lost the fighters. We landed.
Bob, there's a picture. I don't know if you can see it on the left there.
Right.
When was that taken?
That was taken on 20th mission, so we were checked.
Okay, so that was on your 20th mission. This was your 22nd and a half mission. And the enemy planes got that close to you.
They didn't shoot. Wow, that was taken out of our plane.
Wow.
And when you get so many missions, it's in somebody has to take pictures.
Yeah.
And I guess we had about 20 missions in the net. It's taken.
That unlucky photographer
Right.
had to join you in the picture. And you did most of your missions in this plane, Glory Girl, correct?
So there was the one we picked up in the United States Rail.
Okay.
It was shot up so bad on our 22nd mission that we wasn't able to fly it.
Got it.
But anyway, the next flight we had, the Poland, when we had Vinny, had 35 missions in it on it. And it was a really beat up plane. It was the longest mission we ever went over 13 times.
So it probably should have been on that mission.
That's what we thought.
Yeah. And you landed in Sweden. What was that like?
Oh my. Everybody in Sweden has relatives in this country. We landed in Sweden. We put us up in the summer resort. Skied in the wintertime. It was a big lake. We had sailboats, canoes, and stuff like that. We stayed in this hotel. It was so nice. You had to wear a shirt and tie and a suit coat to go to dinner. They played dinner music. And after dinner, the wealthy people send their daughters up to meet the Americans. And we only had a year of that.
A year.
Damn near a year. Well, anyway, December of 44, the fellow goes to pay us to pay the bills. And he says, I got good news and bad news for you. Well, what's the good news? He says, today's payday. He says, well, what's the bad news? Factory closed, you're leaving here tomorrow.
Oh, no.
And this was December 44. War wasn't over.
No.
They brought us right back to the States. Then they told us we broke international law, like taking refuge in a neutral country, well out in the country.
How, okay, can I ask you honestly, can you answer this question honestly?
I don't know.
Were you sad to leave Sweden?
Well, we can know.
I would think so.
I was 19, I had my 20th birthday this week.
And did you meet?
Well, we didn't know whether we had to come back and start flying again.
Oh, yeah,
We didn't know we were breaking international.
right.
We got back to the United States, they told us, leave the country.
You had to stay in the U.S. You couldn't. Okay. And did you have a girlfriend in Sweden?
How many?
Your son isn't here, so he could be. We'll take that as a yes. Thank you very much, Bob. Here's a wonderful person, Pat Marty. Pat, can you stand up? Pat just gave me permission to ask her how old she is. Pat, how old are you?
95.
95. And this is Pat. Pat was in the USO. You traveled the world with the USO. How did you get involved with the USO?
I was asked.
Really?
I was given the opportunity, and I went home, told my parents. They packed my bag. Peace and quiet in the family.
And did you enjoy the USO?
I loved it. But my main question is, did the servicemen we entertained, or did they enjoy it? That was the most important thing.
Does anybody remember a USO show?
China,
Yeah? Did you enjoy it? Yeah. Did you ever see a USO show? Yeah?
China, Japan, Korea, Guam, Tinian, Saipan, Kwajalein, and Ewa.
You got it right. Let me ask you this, Pat. Were you ever scared? Because it's not that you were like going into active battle zones, but you were. Oh yeah, you were?
Oh, the train was blasted out from under us in China. Oh yeah, we had some times up there. Korea was tough.
Were you ever scared?
Oh,
Yeah?
of course I was scared. But we kept going. It was wonderful.
And how long were you on the road in the USO during the war?
10 months.
10 months.
Yeah.
Did it have, like, how has it affected the rest of your life?
Appreciation. Appreciation for the fellows who were over, and girls who were over there. And my friend Linda was with the Red Cross, and the Red Cross gals we met when we were over there, they were wonderful. It was great. The comradeship was just unbelievable. You couldn't buy it. It was just great.
Great. Thank you so much,
You're
Pat.
welcome.
Thank you for coming. God bless you. God bless you. Guy, I will let you know that Guy, his hearing aids are at the VA being repaired. So he does not have hearing aids. So, but Guy, if you can stand up if you want. Sure. And I would ask you to look at the screen. Look at that cute little kid on the right.
Oh, yeah.
You are so adorable.
Yeah, I might have been about 5 years old then.
Yeah. How old are you guys? How old are you now?
Well, I had a birthday about 4 months ago. I was 100 then.
How did you end up in the Army? Did you get drafted or did you volunteer?
I got drafted.
Yeah. And you served in the 45th Infantry Division.
That's right, 45th. I was a VAR man.
Routing automatic rifle.
Right.
How-
My company commander in the beginning was, well, I had two of them. I had Eisenhower and Pat. And that was in Sicily. And in Italy, I had Mark Clark.
Right.
And in France, I had Kimmel Price. So every place I went, I had a different general. My company commander was Felix Clark. And he was with me when we liberated that town, prison camp. Yeah, that was April 29, 1945. We were on our way to Munich, Germany, and my company commander got orders to swing down to downtown and see what was going on. We should have never been there. The worst place you could be to go into that camp. And we saw everything in there, the death chambers, the gas chambers, and the crematories, and all those things that we saw. Well, it was like we liberated, I think, 31,000 people, but there were over 2,000 that were dead, men, women, children, and it was a place you never wanted to be. We had people in our unit that had been there from the start, from going into Sicily. They'd been with us for 2 years, 3 years. You could hardly stand what you saw at a time like that. So it was a sad, sad place. Yeah. But,
You ended up spending from what I remember, 511 days in combat?
yeah, 511 days in combat. We were on the move. That's why I don't have any pictures about my time in this. So we didn't have time to take pictures. It seemed like we were on the move every day because the battle was going to different countries. And we were in Sicily and then into Salerno and Italy, and then from there we went into Italy and Cassino and Anzio. We were there in the Battle of the Cave, which our presidential human citation, because that battle lasted 8 days, and we held the German army back within 1,000 yards of where we were. Then from there we went all the way through France, and then from there crossed over the Rhine, went all the way through Germany, and that's where we went to that house. That was 4 years overseas, so that was a long time.
4 years. You will not meet many veterans who served from North Africa all the way to Germany. And you made it through. You survived.
Yeah, it's only by God's grace that I'm here today. I saw that there were so many things that happened, with my buddies, my best friends and everything. But it's just one of those things that just take it one day at a time. And I wondered for a long, long time, just what are we doing in this war? What is this war going to end? It finally dawned on me it was to make people free. That's what we were known for, the main thing.
Hey, I'm going to have both Warren and Mary Boss stand up. Warren and Mary. Mary, I know that you're... You stand up, Mary, and tell Warren to stand up. Warren and Mary celebrated their 72nd anniversary a week ago today. There's a picture on the right. Was it love at first sight for you, Mary? How did you meet? You met at a barn dance. He's a good dancer. Yeah.
At the armory, right.
And I'll ask, let's hear Warren's version of the story. Warren, I do remember you saying you went to the barn dance. This is what I remember of Warren's story. You were a glass blower. You were a glass blower. And you and your partner, a fellow glass blower, you were going to drive to California. Yeah, but my version is better. Okay, he was a friend, a roommate. And you had gotten, from what I remember, you had gotten a car together, and you were going to drive it to California to kind of start your new life there. And you went to this barn dance and you saw Mary, and you said, I ain't going.
That's exactly right.
Really? What was it about Mary that stopped you from going to California?
She's like
And when Mary...
I'll tell you, John,
Okay.
when I looked at her, dancing, I feel like the Lord gave me praise. And I feel right now, I went back to my room and I said to my buddy, I ain't too old, I'm getting married. That day that I met him.
And if you know Warren, you might know his story. There he is. The center photo was taken after you landed on Utah Beach
Oh yeah, that was taken in Sherburne.
in Sherburne. And that was to send home your mother.
Yeah, I did, that's what I said. And when I said that home, see, I had no education, and I couldn't know how to write. So I sent it home, and on a little card, the only thing I said is, hi, Mom, I made it. That's all I said.
And you landed on D-Day on Utah
Yeah.
Beach. And I'm hoping that this works. There's it's remarkable that there is archival film footage of Warren Goss on D-Day on Utah Beach. And it is shown in any documentary you see about Normandy, about D-Day. You always see this little piece of film. And it is very clearly Warren. There it is. Warren is in the foreground. There he is. That's him. That is him. And it's playing in a loop. And I think, yeah, there. And you can see, Warren, you have a distinctive jawline. And you can see that that's your jawline right there. You're holding a hand grenade in your left hand.
There's like two of them.
It looks like two.
Yeah, two grenades.
Two grenades.
Now, that's one's a right.
Oh, one's a rifle.
One's a rifle. No.
And I think this was on in a newsreel, was it not? Was this in a newsreel? Can you tell us a little bit? You were in the 531st Special Brigade that landed on Utah before the first wave to remove mines and obstacles. Could you tell us a little bit about what D-Day was like for you?
Well, when I went to the Special Brigade, it was an engineer troop. And I went over to the 4th Division, that's what I was doing. About a week after I got there, this all happened in 43. And they asked for volunteers to put a Special Brigade. And it was part of the 531st Engineer Group, you know. And volunteer for that. And we did, a bunch of guys. And they told us, they said, look, we're going to have it made in France, and here's the guys who are going to do it. And you don't have to volunteer for this, you can either drop out or stay in. A lot of guys just disappeared. Yeah, they just, my buddies and I, we stuck it out. We trained, we had our training.
And what was June 6th like? What was the actual landing on D-Day like for you?
Well, Todd, they train you for everything that you think is going to happen, but you can't. Train you for what happened. Thing you didn't expect. You didn't expect a to disappear. And all those guys were around the water, you didn't see that. And you didn't see guys turning upside down because the equipment was wrong, you know. And it was
One of the things that we do at the Veterans Breakfast Club is we do trips. We've done 2 trips to Vietnam. We did a battlefield tour of Europe. Warren came on the battlefield tour of Europe in 2018, and there he is at Utah Beach. And I've got to say, it was one of the thrills of my life to tour Utah Beach with Warren. And he was able to point exactly where he came in, exactly the Roosevelt Cafe, which was a German.
Yeah, bunker. There was a bunker right beside it. And that cafe at that time was quarters for officers.
And you also remembered going to that chapel that had a roof bombed out.
Well, that was on D-Day. I made it through the swamp. Got through there. In fact, crawling through the Edgeworth was after the swamp. And I kept going. By that time, I was by myself. Nobody was around again. And I ran into this chapel. The walls were blown out, the roof was gone, the pews were all out of there, and the Bible was still on the wall. It was a big Bible they had there, and I ran my brush and dirt off to look at it, and then I left.
Another wonderful moment is here. Okay, so we're at the Utah Beach Museum, which is a beautiful big museum. And I alerted them that Warren was here. And immediately this woman, this pretty French woman, she's the executive director of the museum. She comes out and says very formally in beautiful English, Mr. Goss, it's an honor to meet you. Welcome. How are you doing today? And he said, and I quote, a hell of a lot better now that I'm seeing you. And that's me laughing there. It's true, Mary. Man, he's an operator. You believe it? Yeah. Well, thank you, Mary and Warren. Thank you so much for coming. Hi, Julia. Julia, when we originally conceived this dinner, you were one of the 4 heroes of World War II. And I would imagine that you do not think of yourself as, I won't even ask. Well, yeah, what the heck. I bet you don't think of yourself as a hero.
Absolutely not.
Why not?
Well, there was somebody who was something saving lives, whatever.
So you think a hero is somebody who charges into enemy fire, who rescues somebody from harm or injury or death. And what you did was not like that at all. You were an 80 wave like I was. And you worked in an office and you decoded Enigma, which was the German secret code. And that is, and not only that, but you couldn't talk about it for many years, right?
That was true, and that was very hard because people always looked at me and said, I don't know what they thought, but they didn't think that women could do anything in the service, and we were doing so much. And I was so impressed, and I was so fortunate to have a job that was so good. I could have been anything. The Navy didn't care what anybody did, they just assigned you a place. And that's when I got into the German submarine code department. And it was just amazing to me what was going on. Nobody ever knew about it, and I couldn't never talk about it. And when I finally did talk about it, it was the end of the 90s, and I went to the National Security Agency. I just opened their museum. And I was visiting an old wig friend in Washington, and she said, let's go see what they have. So we went over, and the place was just full of refurbishments, and I was just floored. I said, how can you do this? We're not even allowed to talk about it. And she said, that was declassified back in the 70s. Totally in the folds. So then I got to tell my husband what I did. And, it was exciting, but nobody really cared about World War II at that point. It hasn't been the last, 10, 15 years that people seem really interested in World War II. And it's fortunate for me that I survived to be part of it, because I certainly enjoyed it, and I certainly enjoyed the work. It's what got me through the pandemic, because I live alone, and there's just nothing I can do. Locked at home. I enjoyed it, and the weather club was on 3-4 times a week. I loved it.
And Julia, I think you're the senior veteran in the room. How old are you?
101 and a half.
And she's a little modest too, because you graduated from Carnegie Tech, now Carnegie Mellon, what year? 1942. And clearly the Navy saw something in Julia. Mainly, I think, incredible brains, as you can probably tell. And trained her to do cryptology, to decode the secret German code that was created through the Enigma machine. And Julia, oh, okay, here, Julia, this is how sharp Julia is. There's something wrong with that Enigma machine, as far as you're concerned. You may not be able to see it from here. You can't see it at all. Yeah, I mean, what's wrong with it is it has 3 rotors.
Oh, yes.
This was a 4-rotor machine, which was more complicated. This was the machine that you used to decode the messages that were created with that machine. So it's a super complicated encrypting device. It created, I think, an unbreakable code. There was no way the code could really be broken. From what I understand, Julia, you can correct me. There was no way the code could be broken unless the Germans made a mistake or unless the Allies captured code books. And both. That's what happened.
Yes, the British got hold of a submarine, and before it sank, they got the Enigma machine and all the food books, all of it. And then the sailors went back to get more. Unfortunately, the submarine sank with the sailors aboard. But at last, the Allies had the Enigma machine, and they could, I guess they were backwards. I don't know how they worked it out, but they
In your division at the what is now National Security Agency,
yes.
your division did decoding Enigma transmissions from Germany to submarines, German U-boats in the North Atlantic, back and forth. And from what I understand, the messages would be sent morning and evening. You would intercept them, and you would try to decode them. And how would you do that?
Well, we had several ways to do it. The easiest way was when the submarine surfaced. The German submarines could not recharge the batteries underwater, so they had to resurface to charge their batteries. And when they did, then they would radio back to control immediately and say, I missed a series of messages from 840 to 870 or something like that. So then the control would resend the messages that were important. They didn't do the dummy messages, they didn't do the personal messages. They only did the really important news messages were sent. So if we had broken the code for that 2 or 3 days before, then we were in, because they did not bother to change anything in their messages. They was a flaw in their German thing, but they were so sure that nobody could read their code that they didn't bother changing any of the wording on the messages. So this made it very simple for us. Unfortunately, that only happened like once a month. And the rest of the time we had to try to figure out what they were saying. And it worked. It was very difficult and very frustrating. But it was still like a game, I guess. We all enjoyed it. It was a really fun job. like working with me daily, possibly a puzzle
Yeah.
or something.
Working with a puzzle, like, puzzling out a problem. I think you also said that whoever was transmitting the weather report for the Bay of Biscay,
Well,
for the
that was,
German.
we had not broken the code for almost 2 weeks, and this is very bad because the last time we had heard from the German submarines, they were in a certain position. And we had no idea where they'd gone in this 2 weeks' time, so we couldn't warn anybody that they were in the neighborhood. But somebody came in and said, does anybody out of ideas that would like to work with a spreadsheet on all the messages we've had for the last 2-3 weeks? And I had nothing, no more ideas, so I said I'd be happy to do it, and I did. And all of a sudden it showed up that every day at 7:30, a message came in at the same time, the same length of message. Everything was just so day after day after day on this spreadsheet. So it turned out to be the weather in the Bay of Biscay for the next day for the submarine skippers who work in the Bay of Biscay. And the wording, we never could figure out why they got so careless, but they never changed the wording. They didn't change their domain words, they didn't change anything. And every night it was the same message with just the German day different. Instead of Montag, it was Sonntag, whatever. And so that was it. And within 2 weeks, the war in Europe was over because we could read their code and we knew where everybody was and what they were all doing, and it was just really good. It was midnight their time, so it was obviously giving them their instructions for the next day. But when Admiral Durrance was told about this, he said, and the sub-skippers kept saying, every time we service there's an airplane overhead within 15 minutes. And he said, they're not reading our code, they're not. And he carried this to his deathbed. He never would admit that we could possibly have to read their code, but we did. And it helped bring about the end of World War II in Europe.
When the war ended, Julia, and you weren't able to do this job that you so enjoyed and obviously were good at, was it a sad time to, leave the friends that you had made and go back to a much less challenging life?
Yes, somehow taking care of kids and scrubbing floors is not very attractive. And I think nobody I knew worked once they were there, and that was the end of it. Everybody stayed home. And it didn't last long until everybody was out going back to school or finding jobs. And we were part of the group to help women get back on their feet and do something, which was great.
Yeah. You're a real pioneer and trailblazer, and you became a teacher.
Well, yes, I went back to school and got my teaching certification and taught school in North Allegheny for 5 years. And that's when I had Kyle as a student.
So Kyle was your student. Kyle, could you stand up? What? So, Kyle, you were Julia's student. Was she a tough teacher?
She was. She made us accountable, but we learned so much from her. And honestly, she became the inspiration for me to become a teacher.
Really?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And of course, when you were her student, you knew nothing about her Navy career or
No,
anything like that.
nothing. And when we reconnected, I said, I found you. And she said, I was never lost. But there was quite a period of time where we weren't in contact. And when we started to talk, I said, in a million years, no one in your classroom would have ever imagined that you had such a prominent position and affected the outcome of the world because of what you did during World War II. So she's just incredible, amazing, and an inspiration always.
Would you say the word hero is a good word for her?
Absolutely. She's very modest, and she shouldn't be, because she's an amazing person.
Thank you, Kyle. Thank you, Julia. And many of you have probably seen May on, what was it, like Good Morning America? Yeah, a lot of news programs.
Very funny. Memphis Bell, I'm sure you're all familiar with the Memphis Bell.
Right. And I've watched interviews with you, I've heard your story, and I find it so fascinating because you were a true Rosie the Riveter. And I also find it fascinating where you came from. I guess, here, I'm going to show, this is your town that you grew up in, Dawson, North Dakota. It looks really exciting. You want to see Main Street of Dawson, North Dakota? This population of Dawson, North Dakota today is 78 people. It was much, much bigger though when you were, yeah, it was much bigger though when you were growing up there. I think it was like 200 people. More than that? There's Main Street. And not only, so May, 97, okay, almost 97. So that means you were born 1925, 26. So that means that you grew up in the Great Depression.
Right.
And the Dust Bowl. I think people should know about the Dust Bowl. We live in Pittsburgh. You know what? These dust storms would generate on the Great Plains, over 10 years, 75% of the topsoil of the Central Great Plains was removed. 75%, and it's not come back. That whole Central Great Plains is depopulated. The reason why Dawson is much smaller now than it was when you were growing up is, well, you left. Right. Yeah, absolutely. And that and the Dust Bowl both contributed to it. And these dust clouds would form, and they would drift east. And every city along the way would remark, what the heck's going on? The sky is blackening. There's a brown haze. We can't see the sun. City after city after city. The Great Cloud comes over Pittsburgh in 1935. Nobody noticed. Truly, it was only after the fact, and I've read this weather report, and it said, you know, our skies are black all the time, so we never noticed that there was, you know, more dust in the sky. So we here in Pittsburgh don't really know about the Dust Bowl, but this is North Dakota. That's North Dakota in the 1930s.
Rough time, I'll tell you.
It was a rough time.
But you know what, we were happy.
You were.
We were very happy. We didn't have anything, but we had family. We loved each other. We loved our neighbors. We were good two Americans.
And you were a kid, so, you know, you didn't know that you were living in an economic disaster and an environmental disaster at the same time.
No, you know, if you don't, what you don't have, you don't miss.
Yeah.
And I do think that we honored everything. We honored our flag. We honored our country. We honored our parents. And I think that was the most valuable thing we could grow up with. Good families.
Yeah.
I think that's so important.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And I think that's why we love your generation so much, is because you represent the kind of patriotism and family and that sense of responsibility to the community that we feel like we've lost. And so we really look up to you.
Right, and we're never going to get that back.
You're bumming me out, May.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Well, here's what I've been reading your story, and you may have read, I should probably let people know, because I bet they've heard of you, but they might not remember that they've heard of you. May was featured in the Washington Post and much in the news during the coronavirus in 2020 because of the masks that you sewed.
Yeah, I made nearly 6,000 masks, Rosie Riveter masks. They went all over the country, and the most rewarding thing of all is all of the beautiful letters I got from all over the country. We got such wonderful people here in this region, and they're the quiet ones, the Jews love our country, they love our country.
Don't throw those letters away.
Oh, I can't.
Well, where are they? I mean, they should go in a museum.
I know, they should, they really should.
Yeah, well, I'm serious. I'm not just joking around. I usually joke around, but I'm not about that. No, I mean, these letters are treasures.
Oh, they are, one of the letters, some make you laugh, some make you cry. One of the most rewarding was, I got a lady that was in the tower, when the airplane hit the tower, and she said she knew she was never going to live. She looked up and she said, "You picture of Rosie the Riveter." She said, "I can do it." And she got out, when I read that letter, she just made me cry.
Oh.
And things are so rewarding, these letters I received.
Oh, wow.
And I made almost 6,000 masks.
And part of that effort of making masks, the Rosie the Riveter mask, was promoting this idea that there should be a congressional gold medal for those who were, like you, for those women who worked in industry in World War II. And you're getting it, right?
Got it.
You've got it.
And we're working on it now. In fact, they will let me design back of the point for our congressional gold medal.
So they have said that you're going to get it, but you don't actually have.
No, it's signed into law in 1920 or 2020.
Show me the medal. I want to see the medal.
Yeah, because it's not minted yet.
Well, that's what I'm asking.
Can't believe how long it takes to mint, and then one of these medals.
Yeah, well, can you tell them to speed it up? I mean,
We did, I just thought.
did you really?
We're on with it quite often.
That is so, I mean, May is just celebrated with anybody who's a fan of Rosie the Riveter and of women working in industry during World War II. There was such, and can I give a little history so people can have a sense? Yeah, this was really, really critical. There was just like the manpower study in the Navy, there was a study that if we have to produce armaments for 2 wars, which is what World War II really was, one in Europe, one in Asia, if we have to produce armaments, we will not have enough people in the workforce to do it. We're going to have to recruit 25 million women who have never worked before. We're going to have to recruit them. 25 million. That sounds like a hard thing to do, but what made it even harder is that in 1942, the nation had already been told for the past 10 years during the Great Depression that married women should not work. Oh, that was the rule. Many of you might be old enough to remember that if you were your teacher got married, she had to resign. I'm imagining you as a teenager in Dawson, North Dakota, having suddenly this opportunity to go out and see more of the world and be an independent young woman.
Well, when school was out, the school was out in May, my sister and my girlfriend and we decided, let's go to Seattle to work for the summer. Thought it would be a lot, we thought it'd be fun. But we lost it and we stayed over and we worked.
And you worked at Boeing.
Boeing, yes, I know B-17 and B-29, and I want to talk to Bob over there. Bob, when we built those B-29s and those B-17s, we moved them out on the tarmac purpose. You're the guys that wrecked them.
This is a Boeing plane, 200 plane. You worked at Plant 2? Whoa! Wow, okay. So I didn't realize that. I didn't know what plant she worked in. She worked in Boeing Plant 2. There were lots of plants, Boeing plants. Plant 2 was the big one, and this is it. This is it. It was almost 2 million square feet. 2 million square feet. It produced half, I think, of all the B-17s in World War II, and certainly more planes than...
I found from Pearl Harbor to make in 1944. 12,000 all told.
Here's the 5,000. Your name is on the plane. I wanted to ask you this. So this...
I'm in that picture. Did you find me?
Are you really in that picture?
She knows exactly where she is.
Where are you, you know?
Benton is?
Yeah?
You see that one with the white man down?
Yes! I was
brought it for morale purposes, but they didn't take the army, but accept it that way. And they did, because of morale purposes, they said let it go through. And we heard the pilots lost to fly it. They thought maybe it wouldn't be really successful, but it made many missions over there.
It did?
Oh, yeah, 67 or 87, something like that.
Oh my gosh, I've got to look that up. And there's a close-up of some of the signatures.
Right, but
How neat. This is a woman with a rivet gun, I believe, correct?
yeah, he's got the large rivet gun there.
Yeah, I wouldn't know a rivet gun from a hole in the ground.
Well, you were riveted it.
No. There's another. I think she also has a rivet gun.
Right,
And then there's another rivet gun.
right, and she's very popular. That one is shown all over this picture.
Yeah. And this is the kind of thing that you did.
Of course.
Did you like the work?
Oh, loved it, yeah.
How did the men treat you?
Me, fine. Some of them complained. I didn't have any complaints. I just got along pretty well.
Yeah, you probably just punched them in the head. Yeah.
The men like, some of the men that related to women, but most of them were decent men.
Yeah.
Yeah. They played tricks on it, so I kind of group rip, something stupid, but, you know, it was just, he didn't mind. I mean, they got used to that.
Can I ask you what your parents thought about you leaving and going to Seattle?
Well, the thing, we all did what was necessary. When my brother, all the young men enlisted right away, and my uncle was a rural mail carrier. And he enlisted too. That dog had to be filled, and they gave it to my mother. I think she was probably the first Rosie in our country, because she was here these winters are in Midwest.
Yeah.
And she took that job
And she was delivering the mail.
out in the country where they had blizzards and really bad weather.
I want to show people this picture of plans number 2 again. Here's the part that you can see. This part is also part of the plant, and this is camouflage.
Right, we didn't even know that at the time.
Really?
Just like a city up there.
So the idea was that when the Japanese would fly over, they would think this was a little town.
Right, it looked
But
like
this was
West today.
right. But it was all fake. This was all fake and underneath.
Plant clothes and people walking around.
And so here's another shot of that plant. And you did work on both B-17s and B-29s?
Yeah, but we built about 17, but the 29 came in close to the end of the war. So we did there, I think we built 4,000 B-29, but like 12,000 B-17.
I have read, and I'll ask kind of what I asked Julia. I've read that when the war ended, you guys, you women, were just immediately let go. Immediately.
There was some more. I met this Chief Sailor in Edgeworth in 1944, and so by the end of the war we had gotten married. But he had a job at that place. He had a job at Westinghouse before the war in Trenton, New Jersey. And so we had a job to come home to, but these, especially the widows, they had no clues to do it. They give them like a pay stub and they go to payment to collect their pay and they work with clothes they were gone.
It's stunning how quickly that happened. That when the war ended, when Japan surrendered in August 1945, the idea was like get these women out of the workforce so that the 16 million men who are coming back will have jobs to fill. And it was the transition was very sudden.
Well, let me tell you a story about what Hitler said, and this is fun like this. Hitler said that he wouldn't have any trouble defeating America because American women couldn't work. He said we couldn't produce. He said we were soft and spoiled because we spent too much time on makeup and cosmetics. Frivolous thing. I think we showed Hitler what American women were made of.
How did your time?
I've never been that bad, but what you're showing here now is also, I can remember a lot of the dust bowl and what happened.
Right. And I think it was worse in South Dakota, but in southern North Dakota. But how did this time in your life, I don't know, affect you for the rest of your life?
Well, you know, I told you I met this Steve Taylor on the dance floor.
Apart from the cute sailor.
And he got married and the war was over. And he always tells the story that he went home from World War II without losing battle until he met me. And I'm still fighting this way.
So it really did shape you as a shape your character.
Because we were married almost 70 years before I lost him.
Oh, 70 years.
Right. And I've been married.
How wonderful.
Wanted to kill each other once in a
longevity?
Just hope I open my eyes in the morning again, I don't know. Will be, I guess, but I've done the best of what good health and fun. I'm very energetic. I just love life.
Thank you so much, May. Oh my God.
But there were a handful of Italians who came here
And why don't you
on a 5-year visa. All they wanted was to earn enough money to go back to Italy to buy a piece of land. And my grandfather was one of them.
Yeah.
And so when there were 7 kids, my father was the last one. He said, we're going to America, we're all going to send everybody to work, and we're going to save all the money we can. And after the 5-year visa is over, we're going back to Italy and buy a piece of land. The Sperantas are going to be landholders in Pauli, the village in Calabria. When it was time to go back, my father, he was the youngest, he was 13, and his older brother, Patsy, 15, didn't want to go back. They said, Pop, it's so nice here, let's stay in America. We can get a job. Hey, family's going back there. What, Pop? Hey, the family is going back. In those days, Pop was,
Oh, yeah.
well, this ship was at the Brooklyn Navy Yard. The horns are blowing. They throw the hawsers off the line. Just before they take down the gangplank, 2 little boys, aged 13 and 15, run down the gangplank and disappear in the crowd. My father had come to America this day.
Oh my God.
I could write another whole book because those 2 kids in the 1905 New York City survived and produced the Speranza family.
And that's it. This is it. This is where your father would have been in this neighborhood at this time. This is around 1910 or so. You can see this is later. This is more in the 1930s and 40s. But it's an immigrant neighborhood, and your father's attitude towards this country definitely shaped you and your character. And I've heard you tell the story of Pearl Harbor Day. Can you share that?
Yeah. I grew up a normal kid, a good Catholic boy. We never got in trouble except in school. We put snakes in the teacher's desk. But fast forward to December 7th, 1941. It was a Sunday. I'm a 16-year-old boy in high school, and we're riding my bicycle to a shop. And when I go in the shop, everything was quiet, not a sound, nothing's going on. And I finally decided, I said, hey! He said, shut up! President Roosevelt is speaking. Is he saying something about the Japanese and Pearl Harbor? Where the hell is Pearl Harbor? I jumped on my bike, I pedaled home, I said, Pop, quick, put the radio on, the president, he puts the radio on. And by the way, it was a Sunday, so the whole family was gathered there, the kids, and in time for us to hear, and a state of war exists between the Empire of Japan and the United States of America, and we will win the ultimate victory, so help us God. My father was a tough man. The first time we saw tears in his eyes, he turned away from the radio, he lined up his 4 sons. He said, boys, listen, like this. Boys, listen. They won't take me because I'm too old. But I expect my sons. He said, no, Papa, they won't take us till we're 18. My kid brother was 12, Rocky was 14. I was 16, Joey was 21. He said, I know, but I want you to know how I feel about it. He said, this country must not fail. You understand, boys? This country must not fail. Nowhere in the entire world can a man get come here with nothing except the willingness to work. And look at us today. We own a home, we have a car, we have kids. All of my children are being educated for free through a high school. Boys, this country must not fail. By the way, at the time, Australia. And those words, I hope that they became the defining words of my life. I hope that from that day forward, everything that I've done is helping in this little way to make sure that this country does not fail. That's the final.
So you went down, did you originally want to join the Army?
I was only 16, but a couple of us in the neighborhood, we let a little hair. You know what a fedora is? Our father's fedora, we put the fedora. We went down to the recruiter, we said, wait, Dave, we want to join the Army. So I said, get the hell out of here. Go home, come back, until we reach 18. And we got embarrassed because we had to wait 2 years. We had to go back to school and wait 2 years before we could get in. The law then was age 18. 2 weeks after your 18th birthday, you get a letter. It says, greetings from the President of the United States. You're coming, or shall we come get you? No. It said, report to your draft forward and register. And we said, finally, you know, we're going to get in. You register? They said, we tried to volunteer for something. No. You wait a week or you. And I was 18 in March. I had to wait till October before they finally. And
So you train and train and train and train and train some more. And then you were doing, I think, more training when you you told the story about seeing paratroopers for the first time.
yeah. Like I said, we tried to volunteer we wanted to get in the war as soon as possible. We were afraid the war was going to be over before we could do something about it. But the Army, in its good time, finally called us, put us in a infantry school in Fort Benning, Georgia. And we arrived on a bus. All kids, 18-year-old, out of high school, lined up. The big sergeant comes out. All right. My name is Master Riley. You got it? We said, yes, sir. He said, don't give me that, sir. You should say that for the officers. He says, I got 19 weeks to turn you little students into soldiers. He said, and by God, you know, we're shaking him up. I'm going to do it. You understand? You got it? All you got to remember is when Master Riley says jump, you say how high and how far. Now get into their bags and come out looking like something. Well, we gobbled up the training. We loved it. 19 weeks. Finally, there we're going to go. No, you got to come back for 4 more weeks. Advanced infantry training. We come back for 4 weeks. Now, right? No, you got to come back for 2 more weeks. Heavy weapons training. You know, 60mm mortars and 50 calibers was heavy weapons back then. Finally, we finished all the infantry training. Now we're going to get into the fight. Now, no, you have to be assigned to a line outfit. So I got assigned to the 87th Infantry at Fort Jackson, South Carolina. And we're going to get to the war now, huh? Maneuvers in Tennessee, jungle training in Florida. When the hell are we going to get into this war? One day they took us out to a big field and be a demonstration today. We said, what kind of demonstration? Shut up and sit down. 3 C-47s come out of the sky. We see the doors open. Guys throwing themselves out the door with a little white thing brings them down to the ground. And they come double time across the field, line up in front of us. Big, beautiful guys with shiny silver wings and jump boots, blouse, and shiny. And the captain says, we're looking for a few good men. This is the United States Parachute Corps. Who wants to volunteer? You have to have had your 19 weeks, your 4 weeks, and your 2 weeks. And we went, oh, man. Wait a minute, throw yourself out of an airplane? And there's $50 extra on jump That did it. Back to Fort Benning now for jump training. And in my book, there's all the details and so on, but that trip didn't fool around. 5 waves, jump, tilt, you make it, 5 jumps, you sink, and overseas.
So you went overseas, Queen Mary?
November, on the Queen Mary with a troop ship. That's another whole chapter in my book. 3,000 men on a ship. You start in the morning, at 5 o'clock you get up, salt water shower, you know, and then you get online for breakfast. The line goes 8 days, 3 days, 8 days, 5 days, 6 days. By about 10 o'clock you get to the chow line, feed you. This was the British ship. We used to get sausages with 50% breadcrumbs and tea, nobody had coffee. Whatever it was, you get 15 minutes to eat, then you get online to get to wash your mess gear. You get to the barrel, you wash your mess gear. It's time to get on to the learning for it. It took 7 days for us to get on the seas. You spent most of your time online. They called it Mickey Mooney was on that flight. We talked to him.
Oh, yeah?
On the show. But what they warned you about was, listen, don't take them close to the rail. The Queen Mary travels without escort. That means if you fall overboard, we drop you a life vest and say bon voyage.
Wow.
The Queen Mary's not going to stop it, but the submarines are waiting for it. But we got overseas to Scotland. They docked outside of Scotland and put us on a train and down to Hungerford, England, and then flew us to France, where I was assigned to the 101st Airborne Division that had just come out of Holland, badly beaten.
Right.
Badly showed up. Now, in Market Garden, the September jump of the 101st Airborne in Holland, the Germans actually almost captured the 101st and the 82nd. They cut off the road. The whole market operation was a miserable failure, thanks to British General Montgomery, who planned it. But the 101st Airborne came out, beat up, lost 3,000 men, had to leave all of its equipment and so on. It's November, and they're supposed to get 90 days of rest, rehabilitation, replacements, and the food and the winter clothes and so on. It was not to be. Neither British intelligence nor American intelligence had even an inkling that Hitler had saved up 25 divisions, 9 of them Panzer divisions with their newest tanks, 100,000 tanks, Mark IVs, Tiger Royals, and so on, and was planning to go from Germany through the Ardennes to Antwerp. The port of Antwerp was our port of entry. What they were going to do was capture that port, deny us the supplies, and have the supplies for themselves. Separate the British and Canadian armies in the north from the American armies in the south, and change them.
And I'm showing a map here, just that. That's exactly it. That was the December 16th, 1944. The Germans launched a surprise invasion, a surprise attack, offensive against a thin line here in the Ardennes forest in Belgium and Luxembourg. And they ended up pushing through and right past a lot of American troops. And that's why it's called the Battle of the Bulge, because of this bulge
They
here.
destroyed 4 American divisions that were holding the Ardennes line. 4th, 28th, 123rd, and 9th Army. Destroyed them as fighting units. The stragglers had to go through Baston to go to the rear. You have to know the story about how
And this, I mean, it was, everything favored the Germans. The weather was terrible, which was good for them. Very cold, very snowy. And again, the goal, like Vince said, was to get, the Germans wanted to get to Antwerp, which is where the Allies were receiving all its supplies and equipment, split the Allies and make the Allies sue for peace. Here's another, this red line up here was the goal of
You know, to condense an hour and a half story in 20 minutes is putting a bushel in the tank. What I would like to tell you about is what I'm more famous for than all of my medals. The first day of the battle, we beat the hell out of them. They failed. They tried frontal attacks on all sides, and we beat them back. So the second night, they surrounded us. They kept at the field hospital, all the beds, blankets, morphine, everything they shot the American personnel. They kept 5 of our doctors to serve in their army. 1 doctor and 1 Belgian nurse escaped into the town. That was our medical team for the whole battle. And my friend got hit in both legs. They took him back. The church and the seminary across the street from the church were the only buildings that still had walls. The whole town had been flattened. The Luftwaffe had been in there twice, and we had been bombed and shelled from day one. And all we could do with the wounded is throw on the floor of the church. We went through the houses, picked blankets, drapes, curtains, whatever we could find to wrap these guys in. And those of us that had 2 blankets donated one to the wounded. We were all freezing anyway, but that didn't make any difference. Temperature never went above 0. And they took my friend, who got hit, back to the church. And my sergeant sent me back to get batteries for the radio or something. I went to look for my friend. His name was Joe. I see him laying on the floor of the church there with a curtain wrapped around his neck. I said, Joe, how you doing? He said, no, we got a couple of shrapnel in the leg. He'll be out of here tomorrow. Hey, man. Yeah, don't worry about it. Tomorrow, the next day. I'm doing good. Don't worry. I said, that's great, Joe. I got to go back. Can I do anything for you before I leave? He said, yeah, go find me something to drink. I said, Joe, where the hell am I going to find me something to drink? We're surrounded and cut off. There were supplies, nothing coming in here. He says, go look in the taverns. Joe, the taverns are all flattened. Go look anyways, and you might get lucky. Hey, if our old buddy wants a drink, you'll go find him a drink. It's snowing. Not the kind of one that's the artillery is dropping in all around the church, and I'm slopping down the road looking for a tavern. First tavern I went into, all broken glass and nothing. I went further down the road. The second tavern I went into still had a bar, and when I pulled the beer handle, beer came out. I said, oh. So I looked around for a bottle, a glass, something to put the beer in. There was nothing. So the same helmet you use in the foxhole, you know. I switched a little snow in it, and I filled my helmet up full of beer, and I went back to the church. Joe, I got some beer. And he says, oh, and he sits up there, and I'm feeding him beer with the helmet. Hey, give me some of that. Hey, give me some of that. I was looking at Mother Cow giving all these guys a mouthful of beer. I ran out. Joe says, go get some more. Gee, Joe, go get some more. I go back down, fill up the helmet. This time when I stepped out the door of the tavern, a shell landed nearby, knocked me down. I spilled most of the beer. But I wasn't hurt. I got up and went back to the church. This time standing in the doorway like this is the regimental surgeon, Major Altman. I'm private, you know. He says, what the hell do you think you're doing, soldier? I said, hey, sir, bringing aid and comfort to the wounded. Jackass, don't you know I got chest cases and stomach cases. You give him me, you'll kill him. Get out of here before I have you shot. Yes, sir, yes, sir. I put that helmet on. But I ran like hell back to the foxhole before he changed his mind. An incident that happened during the war. Hey, there were a million incidents like that. I forgot all about it.